Finally, someone really, really smart agrees with your host here on Seahawks Today, Will Ortner. And I'm going to tell you exactly who that person is and why this changes everything for your Seattle Seahawks. But before I do that, make sure that you like the video or else. I haven't decided what or else means yet, but producer Reed is very scared right now behind the keyboard. He's nervous. I don't know. Just like the video so I don't have to go to that very dark and dangerous place. Now, this is a genius take. ESPN's Mina Kimes, and I understand that there's a little bit of a bias towards the Seahawks, did say that this Seattle Seahawks defense in 2025 is elite. And I agree with her. But this is why you brought in this guy. This is why you hired Mike Macdonald instead of going out and hiring the next offensive guru. This is why you hired Mike Macdonald instead of going and getting Dan Quinn, who Dan Quinn is a fine coach. He's a good coach. But you brought in Mike Macdonald to have the best defense, to have an elite defense in the NFL, and it's going to completely change how this team's season outlook is going to be for the 2025 season. I'm going to run down all three major position groups, the defensive line, the linebackers, and the secondary, of why they're elite and how they can continue to keep getting better. Because when I look at this team, this is just the beginning. Specifically, we're jumping into the defensive line right off the get. Why? Because you know I love my fat boys here at Seahawks Today. And Mina Kimes apparently does too, because this was the group that she specifically shouted out on that ESPN Live, and she said they are playing at a historic rate. I completely agree. I could dive into what they're doing in the run game, but first I'm going to talk about what they're doing here against quarterbacks, and they are an absolute nightmare. Right now, your Seattle Seahawks have 5 sacks through 2 games. Frankly, they should have a few more if Brock Purdy wasn't chucking the ball off his back foot at the very last second. If Aaron Rodgers wasn't doing that weird diving flip thing that he did at the very end of a couple of sacks back there. Byron Murphy is absolutely nails right now. This is why you drafted him as the first overall pick in the 2024 draft. I should say your first overall pick in the 2024 draft. He was a little underwhelming last year. He was good. This year, he already has 1.5 sacks, and he's flying around. He's one of the top pressure getters in the NFL. And when you can get that from a guy who's playing a 3-tech position, right up the middle, right in the QB's face, man, that completely makes everybody else's life easier. Leonard Williams has been flying around. Big Cat has a sack on the year right now. Frankly, I think he should have a couple more. Quarterback hits-wise, you're flying around in the backfield making plays. And I haven't even gotten to talk about Jarran Reed yet, who honestly is playing third fiddle, that third musketeer. He is, kind of filling that Martin Short role as opposed to what they've got going on Only Murders with Selena Gomez and Steve Martin. But right now, I will say I am impressed with what this interior defensive line is doing, and I haven't even gotten into the edges, the linebackers, or into the secondary. I'm going to do that, but before I do that, this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Prize Picks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on any 2 to 6 player stat projections, and if your picks are right, you could cash in. Prize Picks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. I was playing Prize Picks this weekend. Frankly, should have used the flex play option. I've got a 3-pick power play for this Sunday. Jordan Love going against Cleveland Brown, more than 232.5 passing yards. Matthew Stafford, boo the Rams, boo Stafford, less than 245.5 passing yards there. Sam Darnold, New Orleans Saints defense, more than 212.5 passing yards. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Speaking of being right, I'm talking about what you're doing with your secondary unit. And of course, I'm talking about that linebacking core. Tyrice Knight deserves a special shout out because he missed the entire, and I mean the entire training camp. And he's come out and played at a high elite level. Ernest Jones as well, but he didn't miss all of training camp. We weren't worried about him not being healthy. We were worried about his Robin coming in and making plays. And that's all that those two have done so far at that linebacking unit. You're seeing them right now flying around. The tackles, they're 1 and 2 for your team in the NFL right now. For the Seahawks, almost both at 20. And Tyrice Knight, frankly, could have a couple more that he missed early in that first game against the 49ers. And that was strictly, and I mean strictly, because he was still a little bit rusty. It's only going to get better. Ernest Jones is even added in to the pass defense game, getting an interception. These two in coverage right now is a big deal for you because they've been shutting down opposing tight ends and running backs. Like I said, Ernest Jones is already playing at that all-pro level. You know that Tyrice Knight is going to meet up there with him soon. On the edges, this is that weird group where they're kind of defensive line. They're also kind of linebackers. DeMarcus Lawrence is having the quietest, best season in the NFL right now because of his run-stopping rate. Teams are not able to get the outside edge on him, and he's making big plays there. The sacks are going to come. They just haven't come yet. Uchenna Nwosu, he's taken a clear step up, and Boye Mafe needs a specific shout-out as well as Derek Hall. Derek Hall has the same amount of QB pressures as Byron Murphy, and Boye Mafe is winning on a pass rush right now, unseen of in your Seattle Seahawks career history for him. So those two not only are taking steps forward as your backups, your true starters are making big-time plays, and Nwosu's only been there for one game. The secondary, it's been good. Mina Kimes said that too. Hey, the secondary is pretty good. You're doing all right. You're only going to get better. That's the thing about this team. You're only going to get better, not just because the play on the field is going to improve, but because that's the group that's been injury-riddled already. That's the group that's been snake-bitten by the injury bug. Devon Witherspoon dealing with that MCL bruise. Is he going to be able to go this Sunday against the Saints? We're not sure yet. We'll find out a little bit more as the week progresses and the practice report comes through. Nick Emmanwori didn't end up going on IR. That's good news for you because that means you think you're going to get him back soon. There's talk of him potentially practicing. I think you probably don't see him for another week. But then again, I'm not a doctor. And you can't tell me you don't think this team is going to improve. Look at what Devon Witherspoon did last year. The guy almost had 100 tackles as a secondary player. He's a guy that you can play on the outside at corner. You can play him on the inside at nickel. You can use him as a safety if you really wanted to. Sometimes, depending on what they ask him to cover freaking tight ends. This secondary unit can only go forward. You're telling me that Nick Emmanwori, once he gets more reps, isn't going to get better as a player? You're telling me that Julian Love isn't going to see the field and get faster as the year goes? He's already making big plays in the backfield, right? You're telling me that Kobe Bryant isn't going to keep improving? Darian Kendricks knocked my socks off with the way that he played against the Steelers, filling in for Devon Witherspoon and Nick Emmanwori, who were both out in that game. This defense is only going to get better. This is the floor for this unit. And they're already lights freaking out. Is this team the Legion of Boom status? I don't know that I'm fully willing to go there yet, but I'm telling you right now, you hired Mike McDonald for a reason, and ESPN's Mina Kimes is telling you what that reason is, and I've been telling you what that reason is. It's to build an elite defense here in Seattle. The last time you had an elite defense, you won a freaking Super Bowl. Let me know. Do you think this defense is elite? Type Y for yes. Type N for no. Make sure I shout out Vancouver's very own Hawkinson Hawks. We're going to get it started this week against Ridgefield. You mark my words. I'm a true Washingtonian.